Okay, I think in this mini lecture, we're going to talk about the life course and transitions, how things change over the life course. Certain things are natural, seems to be universal. And on the other hand, there are also specific happenings which happen throughout the life. And that'll give us two different perspectives. The life stage model that we have is, and the most common one to be talked about is actually the one which is from Erickson. And Erik Erikson was actually a psychiatrist, and he became very famous because he was commissioned by the Congress of the United States to give a report on these things, and he developed an 8-stage model of life development. So we're going to go through these stages, all 8 stages, try to understand a little bit more about what they are and how they actually work. So the first stage in the beginning, in the beginning of life, is the stages between the first year, let's say the first year, and in that time there's a basic, in each stage there's actually a basic conflict that has to be resolved in order to progress from one to the other. And the first stage is a sense of trust or mistrust, a basic trust or mistrust to the world. In the first stage of life, a child has basic needs that needs to be supplied to him. He needs to be fed and clothed and kept clean, and if he's hurting, he has to be taken care of. So the child doesn't communicate very well, cries, and learns that is the world a place where he can expect to be taken care of. And that's the first stage. This is stage 1. It's approximately the first year. As a child, can I learn, or as an infant, as a human being, can I learn to trust the world to take care of me? The second year, which is the toddler stage, in other words, approximately when a child begins to become self-mobile, he also is learning a little bit more about his expanse of the world, and he will learn to here Erickson proposes that the basic problem and conflict and challenge is to learn shame versus doubt. Okay, can he control themselves? Is particularly in control of the sphincter muscles is something which comes around this age, and which has to do with obviously shame, and this happens during this particular age. The third stage is the stage of which is approximately from age 3 to age 5. These are not exact. If you have a child this age, don't start thinking, well, it's not exactly what's going on. Just don't worry about that. Just get one after the other, approximate ages, where it's initiative versus guilt. And during this stage, which is approximately the preschool stage, is the time where the children will begin to identify with the people who are close to them, and they have a great imagination. And this is what we talked about before of the play stage. So the child begins to gain a sense of self through achieving something, starting to do something, acquiring direction and purpose. If they're allowed the initiative to do something, it's good. If they're not, they can feel guilty for their attempts at independence. They're going too far. Don't do this. Don't do that. This is stage 3. Okay, basically a preschool time, initiative versus guilt. Okay, stage 4, which is a very big period of time, is the time of elementary school, basically from age 6 to 12, and these are the time where children get their most systematic instruction. They get recognized for achievements. They learn how to ride a bicycle, build things, use their fancy things with Legos. They are praised for their abilities in sports, and they're learning, and they do better in their academic studies. This fourth stage is the question as whether they have industry working hard versus inferiority. I'm no good, I can't do it. Okay? They enjoy doing things and taking pride in doing things. So that is stage 4, approximately from 6 to 12. Okay? The fifth stage, the fifth stage, right? The fifth stage is adolescence. Very commonly a time where a person at adolescence wants to consolidate his sense of identity. Okay, identity, and if you don't have identity, it's a role confusion, and they struggle with this role confusion during the adolescence years. Am I supposed to be like this or like that? Who am I? What am I going to be when I grow up, or when I finish my development? And they really work hard on seeking and identifying who they are. They go into their groups, and their peers are even more important than they were before, although they were important before. Stage 6, which is the early adulthood, it's a time where the person begins to realize, sense, and behaviors of intimacy, and how the society defines what intimacy is supposed to be like. And if not, what's the opposite? Isolation, feeling alone. This is or self-absorption. This is the young adults form close friends, they form intimate relationships with the other gender, as you know, in adolescence, the same gender is important, but they do have boyfriends and girlfriends, but it's not something which is really, truly, it's more play intimacy. It's against young adulthood, there's more true intimacy as versus self-absorption, giving over to yourself, giving parts of yourself to somebody else, or feeling only that's myself, and then there might be physical intimacy, but still a person winds up staying self-absorbed. In the middle age, which is stage number 7, we talk about generativity, building, doing things, as against stagnation, not doing, needing to go further. You get the idea of maybe you get the midlife crisis during this time. Maybe I'm not actually doing as much as I should. Maybe I'm not accomplishing as much as I should. But people devote themselves to work and production. Even if you're not actually out with a paying job, you're still devoted to production, producing something, or as against stagnation, not getting anything done. And during the old age, which is stage 8, okay, we'll talk about old age, which is integrity, as against despair, or despair and disgust. There's actually a ninth, in other words, a person will then begin to feel that I've actually built things together, made things as my life comes together. It seems to come, all the pieces come together, and I'm happy with my life. Or on the other hand, I'm not. Things are no good. I've wasted my life. I haven't gotten anything done at all. And these are, when we talk about these things on a sociological basis, and we talk about these, from a sociological as against a psychological perspective, I think maybe we want to talk about how these things are integrated from the outside in, from the society giving us these criteria for what is initiative, for instance, in the other versus guilt. What is industry? Why? How is it that I am actually going to be able to be achieving things when I am a elementary school child at that age? And it actually works out that way. The same thing as identity. What is our identity? How do I actually identify who I am and where I am going and things like that? As a adolescent, these are the type of things we want to think of as they're going through and developing a sense of self. On the other hand, there's another way of looking at this idea, these ideas as you go through life, and that is the idea of a life event model. Okay? In other words, that certain things happen which consolidate our sense of self or redirect our sense of self. You might think of that, like if you had a confirmation, a bar mitzvah, a wedding, a divorce, having a child, becoming a parent, all these things are defining occurrences in a person's life. And some things are what we would expect in our society, and some things are not what we would expect in our society. We expect young adults to have children. We don't necessarily expect teenagers to have children. It will change their life. It might not be normative, or in some subcultures it might be more normative than others. We don't expect 84-year-olds to get divorced. We might not even expect 84s to get remarried. Of course, there's no reason why they shouldn't. Okay, it's just not necessarily happening. So these are things that we want to look at, because this is going to change. And not only that, if you get married for the first time at 20, right, is it going to be different than if you get married for the first time at 30 or 40 or 50? Is it different if you get married for the first time at 30, or you're getting married for the second or third time at 30? These things will change who you are, what society expects of you, and how. And this is the process of the life event model. The events themselves within the context is going to have significantly different meanings as you look at them. One of the things that might happen as you have different life events is you might become resocialized. And resocialization, I think we're going to leave resocialization for the next lecture, because I'm not going to be able to get through this in the last 2 minutes that I have. So let's talk a little bit of resocialization on the next lecture.